day release. Demon sub tries not to crease. And meanwhile, keeping nice and warm in bed with Russian uniform. Meanwhile, the Candyman is opening another can. Technical difficulties, they're really such a crime. Technical difficulties, they happen all the time. It's Yellow Belly Tabletop time. It's Yellow Belly Tabletop time. It's Yellow Belly Tabletop time. Sometimes they're salty about the gaming biz, and nobody knows who Upworlder is. Technical difficulties, they're really such a crime. Technical difficulties, they happen all the time. It's Yellow Belly Tabletop 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 time.
It's not work. Yes, it is working.
Oh, can the internet hear you?
Well, for a second there, I don't think I had audio, and then I did have audio. So probably everybody missed the beginning of that. Hello.
Anyway, tea is not a British thing. It's a Lincolnshire thing.
That's true. Educated British people have dinner in the evening, whereas
Fen dwellers like ourselves
have tea.
We have tea.
Because we're a bit of a schizophrenic people here in the East Midlands of the UK. We have some northern aspects, but every northerner thinks we're a southerner. So,
And every southerner thinks we're a northerner. So we really can't win. We're between the north and the south.
Good
and
God.
Consequently,
Pandy's a heretic. He has tea, and he's in Suffolk. Fucking hell.
but Suffolk isn't exactly what's it called, is it?
I mean, you're barely the East
Demure.
Midlands. You're barely the East Midlands, Pandy. Fucking southerner.
He's East Anglia.
Anyway, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the fucking madness. Grab a chair. It could be a while.
Take
So,
a ticket, like at a cheese counter, and we will see you shortly.
he's raised in Bournemouth. Oh my Christ, it's getting worse. Just quit while you're behind, Pandy. Quit while you're behind, mate.
You up in the south. Most people.
Yes, but you're fucking ridiculously far up north, Darren.
Isn't Darren from like Northumbria, literally further north than God's own country?
Yeah, he's basically Scottish.
Yeah, basically, if he's near Berwick upon Tweed, we fought over that 13
Newcastle.
fucking times. So thank you, you're welcome.
You got a real broad Geordie accent there, Darren. I bet you have, man.
Yeah, I know you're an Essex
Right,
bird, and it was my Sweden. Anyway, boys and girls.
Do I have an accent? Well, yes, that was a question. You do. Right. Let's say hello to everybody in the chat because it's flying by at 1,000,000 miles an hour. Let's get the show on the road. Okay, so hello to Darren Demon Sub on Instagram. Check him out for some awesome painting. Cheese Me. Hello to you, sir. Hello to Spam and Egg. That's David's other half for anybody who's new. Hello to Crispin, our Texas friend. Who's keeping it clean? I haven't seen any profanities yet, Crispin. Are you feeling all right, mate? Darren is not hobbying. Let's have a minute's silence for Darren not hobbying because he's always doing something.
Press F in chat.
Who else have we got? Oh, scroll down a bit. Cheese Me and Spam and Pandy. That's Paul from Pandyman Entertainment. Go check them out online. Purveyors of the fantastic Threat Level 0 and Trench Offensive games. And many more to come, I strongly suspect. There you go, yeah. So welcome to the team. Welcome to the regulars. And if you're not one of the regulars, but are an irregular, welcome to you too. I know, it's fucking great, isn't it? We have sort of like some sort of like 20-something Eastern European with like triple D breasts. Can I be your friend? Yeah, except I doubt that's you, is it really, dear? Go away, Mr. Scammer. Fucking losers. Still, yes, the fun of social media.
Could be worse.
Cheese Me, don't bother. Yeah, so Crispin's ears picked up triple D breasts. Triple D breasts? Now you're talking my language.
Yeah, it's just the fact that those triple Ds are not actually attached to any kind of spirit.
Yeah. Not the only sort of big tit you're going to meet on Instagram. And in any other social. And any other social. Any other social fucking media format. Blue Sky's where he's at. Oh God, Darren, don't give us another social media platform to be on. Christ Almighty,
but
mate.
Isn't Blue Sky to replace X, Twitter?
I do Facebook because I'm old, and then I was dragged kicking and screaming to Instagram. I'm not going to do anything else. Yeah. Well, if it's the hot new thing, there's 1,000 reasons for me not to be on it. Because that's the way I roll. I am just a fucking contrarian.
Paul, you're getting waylaid. We're 6 minutes into the show. Tell the boys and girls at home what we're doing this week.
Right, if you're new, we're going to be following our usual format. So, David and I will tell you what we're going to be working on and perhaps show you as well through the miracles of video. Then we'll have a little bit of a chat about our gaming club night on Monday. But David promises not to go on too long.
Well, I've got talking to do about the weekend, haven't I? Because I went to a tournament.
Oh yes, and David went to a tournament at the weekend, so he can tell us all about that, and we'll move him hurriedly on from the game on Monday night.
Multi-award-winning Moonstone, my ass, but we'll cover that more in a bit.
Yep, Cheese Me. Yes, mate. Yes, yeah. And then we might talk about some news and chat shit for a bit. And then at 9 o'clock, we're going to waffle extemporaneously about hobby tools. I've seen a couple of other content creators do like hobby tools videos recently. It seems to be one of those.
I'll tell you who the two biggest hobby tools on the internet are for. And they're here hosting right now.
I was going to say, that is what a tagline. Forget all the other hobby tools. The biggest are here. Yellowbellytabletop. Somebody make that a t-shirt. Make it so. Cheese Me. Yeah, we're there, mate. We're there. So yeah, we'll talk about hobby tools. Everybody seems to have a video about it. I guess it's one of them evergreen topics, isn't it? People have to sort of like.
Yeah, it is. And to be fair, this one's been on the back burner for us for what?
Oh, it's been.
Nearly 12 months?
Yeah, it's been on our list of topics for forever. But I think the fact that it has the potential to be quite predictable, particularly if you're not new, that we've sort of like pushed it down the priority list because it's like, what interesting things do we have to say? But to be fair, we've got some personal experiences that we've both had in the last few months to share on the impact of tools on what we're hobbying on. So we thought let's whirl it out and we'll give it a run. And that starts about 9 o'clock. So do you want to go first, mate, and show everybody what you're working on?
Come on down, boys and girls.
Pardon me. Oh, pardon my pig.
So, for those of you that were here last week and the week before last and the week before that, we're still working on some Warcry, boys and girls. So, I'm doing my second coat of this warm grey base tone because apparently the orange airbrush work shows through warm grey like a motherfucker.
Yeah, who thought that orange would show through white?
I'm doing that, and just before stream started, boys and girls, does anybody recognise these? Does anybody recognise these at all?
Put both the bits up and we can see.
I may have started some dwarves.
There may be some ones and some zeros involved because it's David.
There's a lot of ones and zeros involved. They're all 3D printed, my boy.
What was that? A
Runeseeker.
Oh, like a dwarf wizard.
Yes. I got two wizards. I've got two like troll slayer leaders. I've got two kings and a prince.
I don't think so, Darren. Darren's saying Mantic ? But they're not.
No, I don't like Mantic dwarves.
What are they? Are they Anvil miniatures or?
They are Titan Forge miniatures, and they're the Kickstarter campaign that they did last year.
And the whole range is all Titan Forge. You haven't mixed.
Yes,
you haven't crossed your.
The only Titan Forge, not Titan Forge minis I've got is I have some Highland Miniatures Rangers.
Oh,
there's no really nice Ranger miniatures in the Titan Forge set.
Okay.
So I have some Highland Miniatures Rangers for like militiamen and that kind of stuff. So they're printed up, but I've not even put any paint on them yet.
Yeah, we're painting. So David's doing this because we are planning Oathmark, aren't we, mate?
Yeah, we're planning Oathmark. We're planning Hobgoblin. I'm gonna try and do some Old World as well. See if I like it.
I'm gonna take advantage of Oathmark and probably do a cobbled together assemblage of tons of. Because as with most people who've been in the hobby, I've got shit tons of Games Workshop miniatures that don't really have a home. So I've got I've got a small amount of elves, a small amount of empire, not enough to build an army to do anything within a Games Workshop game.
Oh, and just before you cut away from my camera, I've been busy this week.
He's been more than busy. You actually see my desk. What are you printing there? Is this all Frostgrave monsters and shit?
No, we've got some more dwarves in here. So we've got some brewers. We've got Mantic. Fucking come here, you
these are the new.
These are Trident Realm.
Yeah, they are fantastic.
Some Trident Realm that I've printed off for my friend Alex.
That's what he's going with, is it? Trident Realm.
Yeah, he's already got like a starter set. Paul, would you like to see some phase cats?
Oh, that's cool. That's very good.
There's 1 in 2 halves.
Again, to be fair, this we'll do a flashback because the productivity that you're seeing here will factor very much into our hobby tools discussion probably at the end.
And then we have a Mantic Slasher from the Rift Forged Orcs in pieces that I'm converting into a dragon.
Okay, that's
For
what the big
Oathmark and
bits
stuff.
were. And what are you doing
Yeah.
that for? You doing the dragon for Oathmark?
Yeah, I'm going to do like a dragon with a HQ choice on it.
Okay,
For
fair comment.
Oathmark and Hobgoblin and stuff. Just for shits and giggles.
Yeah, so, as I say, one of the
Would you
great...
like to see your Yeti before you cut away?
Go on, then. Nice. That's a great pose. Has he got like a rock that is sort of holding him up, or do you fix him to the base with his feet? I thought he did from the 3D render you showed me.
And then
Yeah,
I
okay.
printed myself a very pretty vampire who's pouring blood on a sword.
Oh, that's pretty cool. What, out of a cup or something?
Yeah, like a chalice.
Sweet.
So yeah, my printer has been working overtime this week.
Printer go brrr.
Yeah, printer does go blur.
Yeah, I'm going to take advantage of Oathmark's. So Oathmark is a rank and flank game by Joseph McCulloch, for those who don't know. And
Frostgrave fame.
Yeah, of Frostgrave fame. And one of the things about it is you can do mix and match armies. So it's
You build a kingdom basically, don't you? So
yeah.
it's a series of concentric rings around like your main city, and depending upon the terrain you pick, unlocks certain units you can bring.
Yeah, so it'll give me a chance to use like the 20 elves I've got with the 10 Empire Gunners and 10 Empire Halberdiers. So I'll be able to basically take all these ramshackle bits of not a lot and cobble it together into an actual cohesive force. Because you can even, I think you can even mix orc and goblins in with the human races and that, can't you?
Yeah, you can do all of it. You can mix gargoyles and dragons in, and
I think
fucking
so,
everything, mate. It's a really nice rule system for those that care about their lore and want to set up a world and environment.
We did test play the actual game itself, and I don't think it's.
Games of it?
We might have had two. I know we definitely had one here at my house, at about 1,000 points, and it didn't set the world afire. But when we played it, I think we very much said this is a game where the campaign mode is going to be crucial to getting the most out of it. So that's what we're planning on doing.
And the other thing is, as you've just touched on, even if the campaign mode's a dog of shit, which, knowing Joseph McCulloch, it's not going to be.
No, it shouldn't. It doesn't exactly have precedent.
Let's just play devil's advocate a second.
Yep.
It will actually allow you to build something with all the shit that you've got collected that you're not going to build with. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the same reason, like, Hobgoblin's quite amazing in that regard. Yes, it's work and effort to build up your faction and what you want and pick all your keyword soup. But when you do, does it unlock the potential?
Yeah. And do you know what? That's the thing I'm looking forward to most, is just being able to give these things a home to play games. Because, let's be honest, I'm not going to, at this point, expand my collection of high elves to like 5,000 points or even 3,000 points to play like Fantasy 8th edition or whatever. I'm not going to do that at this point. I've got too many other things to occupy my time and attention, and those sort of... Again, I'm not motivated or driven for those sort of projects. I want to build... to be honest, the only game that even vaguely is saying to me, do this big, go epic, is Bolt Action at the moment. I could really get into playing the hell out of a Bolt Action campaign supplement, and get tons of terrain and a massive collection of miniatures and that sort of thing. But no other game is sort of like tickling that. Let's just do this on an epic scale. for me. So
yeah, 3D printer goes burr this week in David's world.
And just as to reinforce the point, here's some more of David's 3D printer going burr. So, David, we've played the Red King campaign for Frostgrave, and as is always the way, I don't know how it is for you guys, but there was no way I was able to keep up with the hobby commitments to play through the campaign. So we ended up proxying quite a few of the miniatures that are written into the campaign scenarios. But David finally got round to printing me the actual miniatures to go in the campaign scenarios. So one of the things in the Red King is you've got these demonic familiars that are servants of the Red King called Hruts, and they come in various forms. You've got, now I forget, I think the ones you get, the flying ones.
You have stingers and darters.
Darters, that was the one I couldn't remember. So stingers are the flying ones armed with a crossbow, which we have here. Then we have darters, which are basically guys on the ground, again, armed with more crossbows. Then we have long hammers, which are slightly larger, bulkier, demonic creatures with two-handed weapons.
Heavily armoured, really, aren't they?
So you've got these three, and then there's the basic Hrut warrior with the shield and sword, which David already did me about 8 or 10 of those. So I've already got those partially assembled. But what my plan...
Tell you the other thing you're missing out of the Red King stuff, thinking about it now.
Yes.
The Burning Men.
To be fair, though, I do have a plan, because I was going to buy those Mantic demon guys.
The Abyssals.
Yeah, the Abyssals. Unless you can find a really good... unless you can find a really cool 3D print, I reckon it's easier just to buy those all flame abyssal miniatures, and Mantic stuff's not expensive. So yeah, then we've got these 4. I've got 4 of these, which are, I think they're called Agents of the Red King. So these guys are going to be
the key keepers,
something like that. These guys are required for the final scenario of the game, where you essentially have to destroy these guys to break the connection to Felstad and sort of like close the portal to the Red King's realm forever. So I've got 4 of these, and again, fucking mad lad printer go burr, David's also started hammering into the miniatures for our next campaign, because we're going to be tackling the Wildwoods campaign.
Do you want to know the best thing, Ginge?
What?
That was 2 beds.
They are fucking beautiful quality as well. But he's printed me now... Oh, what the hell are these things called? These are the reindeer men. Rangefers. Thank you. So, again, he's printed me these Rangefers, which I can use in that. Now, these are actually Frostgrave models, aren't they? From that
yeah, from,
City of Ice.
What is it called? Frost City.
Frost City Kickstarter.
From Franco. Oh, sorry, Franco. I've just bastardised your name. But I don't speak
I do
Spanish.
believe he's a Spaniard, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
Yeah, they
STL
could
miniatures on what's it called?
They could proxy as Leshen. Good shout,
STL
Toros.
miniatures on what's it called? My Mini Factory.
Yeah. Now the Hruts,
Frost City campaigns.
These Hruts are all Titan Forge, aren't they, mate?
No, Artisan Guild.
Artisan Guild. So many different companies. I never get them straight. So yeah, that is what I'm doing tonight. It's going to be lots of super glue, lots of squinting and trying to match hands with crossbows and...
Oh yeah, because I forgot I fucking mirrored half of them, didn't I? So you need to work out what's left and right.
Yes. Yeah, that's a thing.
I love you, Ginge.
Great. So yeah, that's what we're working on. If you are working on anything while watching along, feel free to stick it in the comments. In fact, you know what? Yeah. If you are working on anything, stick it in the comments below if you're watching on YouTube later, or stick it in the chat if you're live here with us now. Good evening. Right, mate. So that's that.
Where do we start? Should I start with the tourney, or should we start with the clusterfuck that was Monday?
Start with the clusterfuck that's Monday. Let's get it out the fucking way. So, as those of you who are new will not know, David and I go to our local gaming club on a Monday night, and this week we had another go at Moonstone. Please refer. Please Please refer to last week's video for how our first game of Moonstone went. I think it was last week. So
no, it wasn't last week. It was a couple of weeks ago.
Of weeks ago. So yeah. Basically, we played a 3-player game. No real scenario. Just drop the moonstones. Basic bitch moonstone. Drop the moonstones and don't upset the Jerry. Cheese me.
Jerry needs to come in here and tell us what the fuck we're doing wrong.
We'll have to have.
I want to like this game, but I just fucking can't.
We'll have to come up. Maybe I'll have to come up with something like. We'll have to come up with something for the on tabletop. Maybe I do like a thread in the forums where it's like Moonstone shouldn't have won any awards for its game. Tell me I'm wrong, and then Jerry can just
We'll come to that in a bit.
Cheese me
is going to be the cure for this problem.
Yeah, I think Cheese me is onto something. So let me just make sure this is working.
Played a 3-way game, didn't we?
Yeah.
With 4 miniatures aside. So I broke the meta, boys and girls, because I took some Dominion and Leshfol. Because I'm a bad human being. But Paul what did you have? You had all of your witches and everything, and then Noel, didn't you?
Yeah,
Taurus, is that coming from personal experience or just us being salty?
No, Taurus. I love it, Taurus. Do you know what? It's just subtle enough that Jerry might get it as well. Oh, dear. Anyway, yes, so basically, we didn't have obviously, I took 4 of my Leshvolt miniatures. I had Noel and the 3 witches, Zariah, Antonia, and Danica. I think the names are. Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat. Trevor took 4 of your
Trevor took
Dominion.
Bristlenose and all of the Goblin Pirates.
Yeah, so he was Dominion. And David's list technically wasn't legal because basically he'd had a hybrid of what was left of my Leshvolt and what was left of his Dominion just sort of cobbled together. So admittedly, that was not an ideal situation to be in because people would say, oh yes, but there's going to be no synergies there. And to be fair, that's probably why David got absolutely butchered as early as he did. That through bad placement and whatever. But look, yes, the problem, the game wasn't great. David got frustrated and eliminated quite early on. One of the big issues was that David was running Boris the Bunny Summoner, who kept trying to summon rabbits, and despite having like a 50% chance of drawing...
Worse than that, mate. We worked it out last night. He has a 70% chance to get bunnies. And both turns,
yeah, that was it.
He got no bunnies.
So even though he had a 70% chance of getting his rabbit summoning ability off, he did it 3 turns on the bounce and basically didn't get the card he needed and got bluffed out. So it was like, well, there's almost...
not even got It's not even got bluffed out. Just couldn't even get the shit.
Well, you
Turn
did.
one, I went,
To be fair, you chose not to go for the bluff. But to be fair, everybody would have bluffed you, because what's the worst case scenario? You summon 2 rabbits. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Well, you can bluff, cheese me, but you can always choose not to. So, for example, if you've got an arcane value of 2, you're looking for a 3 red and a 3 green, and your opponent knows there's only 2 in the deck, and they've drawn like 6 cards, so one of them's in there. If you were to bluff at that point, you're being just reckless, because your opponent's pretty much guaranteed going to go, that's a bluff. I am fucking...
Oh, and then better than that, in I can't draw cards for shit, Trevor had a 7% chance of his arcane ability chaining it. I called his bluff on play number 1 and got it wrong, and then also on play number 2,
I got it wrong.
That's a bluff. And it's like, fucking hell.
Evening, Shakos. Look, we've probably still got a lot to learn about the card mechanics.
I really don't like the game though. It seems complicated and convoluted for what it's actually trying to do.
Yeah.
And whilst I agree with it winning the miniature awards when it won the awards at UK Games Expo, not on God's green earth should it have won both sets for the judges and people's rules.
Yeah. I mean, do any of the people in chat actually play it? Just out of interest, or have played it? Because David and I are definitely feeling like, you know, the only people on Earth who don't really get Moonstone. It's like when you look on...
Evening, Sharkos.
Even when you look on YouTube... Well, he's not wrong, Shakos. That is essentially the sort of position we're taking here. And we're not doing it just to be arseholes for the sake of it. We've both spent serious money on the game, bought into it, and now we're like, oh fuck, we don't actually like this game. It just seems, like David's intimated, it just seems way too fussy for what's involved. You know, I want it to play light and quick, and that way I don't feel too gutted when, you know, my fucking arcane test goes off.
Dead and tabled because I can't pull the cards that I need for shit. I mean, again, I want to hit the nail on the head. This is our 3rd game of Moonstone, and I'm going to put it out there and actually say, when we played with 3 miniatures...
Oh, yeah, I think you said before, Darren.
Little intro game.
Yeah.
That was actually the best play experience we've had for Moonstone when it was 3 people and 3 miniatures and over in 45 minutes.
That's do you know what that is, Darren? I think you mentioned before when we had a rant, and you said that you quite liked it, but your friends didn't gel with it. That's coming back to me now. To be clear, cheese me, it's not a kill everything. Moonstone, there's only one condition, win condition, which is pick up the moonstones. But it's like
it's the entire deck of cards against you, because you've got the cards against you, you've got the melee cards against you, you've got your movement base against you, you've got your energy management against you. It's just an entire stack of... Okay, yes, it's an entire stack of problems to solve.
I mean, the other thing is...
It doesn't really feel like there is any problems to solve, because it's move, step, get next door to the Moonstone. Next round, use all of your energy to harvest the Moonstone. The round afterwards, fuck off with it. And try not to get gimped on the way out.
That's just what I was about to say. Pretty much every time, to say every time is a bloody slight hyperbole, but to nearly every time I tried to spend my precious energy on my miniatures to use one of my many cool abilities, I ended up regretting it and thinking I should have just stepped up to a moonstone and harvested it, or stepped up to an enemy and hit them.
And this is
And
the
it's
problem
like,
for us, Chakos. We already play a game that we love and enjoy and rave about. See last week's stream, Frostgrave, which is running, get the shit, fuck off. And there's far less moving parts, far less management, far less bullshit going on in the background.
yeah.
No, and again, we can't like every game, and I totally get that point, Taros. I just think we've had it before where we've had games that we're like, what are we doing wrong? And then it suddenly clicks after 4 or 5 games.
I mean, ultimately, we've both spent 50 odd quid plus on it, and we will. Cheese Me called it earlier, and because when you look in the rulebook, there's these really convoluted narrative style scenarios, very much like Frostgrave, where you've got to get your drunken model home from the pub, or weird and wacky stupid shit going on to score extra victory points and to add an extra dimension to the game. And we'll almost certainly give at least one of them a try. But as I say, it is just fucking weird when you hear nothing but positivity about a game and then you play it and you're just thinking, because some games are divisive, and you like Infinity is beloved by some and it baffles others, and you can totally see why when you play it, because my god is it convoluted. Malifaux, similar, beloved by some, others just don't get it because it's just fiddly, moving shit around. There's a lot of stuff that's utterly immersion breaking and doesn't make any sense.
But anyway, I finished being Assault Mine, so I think I need to talk about the weekend and the tournament.
Let me move the pictures on. So, where are we? I can come off Salt Shaker. Yeah. So, this is a shot, I think, of one of the tables that you had at your weekend.
So I had 3 games.
That's probably the key. Sorry, mate. Darren says about playing the Christmas frog scenario with presents. I think we're definitely going to try it to see if that's where the hidden joy of the game is. The sort of like the wacky little scenarios where you immerse yourself in the storytelling and don't overly invest yourself in the grind of executing the plan. Do you know what I mean? But and anyway, I kind of wish, carry on.
Just on a side note of that, I kind of wish the campaign system wasn't as complicated and convoluted as it is. I wish it was more a la Frostgrave.
Right.
For Moonstone. Because I think we would actually get some enjoyment out of that. But anyway, on Saturday, I went up to good old Mantic HQ in Nottingham, and I played 3 games of Armada. It was a beginners tournament. I took 4 dwarven boats, which are sort of 3 of them are to the left of that shot, and 1 is up towards the centre. This is my photo of game 1, where I was playing against, I think it was James Tandy, with his Infernal Dwarf fleet. Absolute blast of a weekend. Lads up there were good. It was a beginners tournament, so there was a couple of rules issues backwards and forwards, but overall, good game, good experience. We'll definitely go and be doing it again. No, I didn't meet Ronnie, unfortunately. Ronnie wasn't available. It was just the 12 of us that were up there and 11 of us that were up there and the guy running the shop. Game number 2, I played the wonderful Alex from our local gaming club for the second game, and this was my only victory of the weekend. where I absolutely fucking tabled him 7-0, and he didn't have a boat left on the board.
And he was playing Norse, wasn't he?
He was playing Northern Alliance, yes.
Yes.
So, Alex, apologies in advance. You're a lovely dude.
Retrospectively, not in advance.
It was brutal. Last game I lost against a Kingdoms of Men fleet that used the brigs from Black Seas. So I went 1-0 all weekend. Alex went 3 losses on the bounce. So yeah, that's a thing.
And then there was one other little event, one other little thing that happened, which was there the hobby award?
There was prizes for first 3 places. Prize for the wooden spoon for the person that lost the most. Alex got best sportsman.
Oh, he did. Oh, excellent! Oh, you did. Oh, that's brilliant.
A tenner for that, and then we had the painting competition for the best painted fleet. I'll let you guys have a look at that a minute, and then I will tell you who. Just throw your suggestions in chat if you've got any.
What the hell are they on about? Trolley jousting in Sainsbury's?
Got no. Toros went to Sainsbury's last week.
No, that was Alex Cheesy. I think who seemed to have gone in fancy dress. I don't know if he was dressed as a pirate deliberately.
But yeah, there was good representation from most of the fleets. The only things we were really missing was Trident Realms, Empire of Dust, the new Abyssals that have only just come out.
Yes, Shakos, his eagle eyes have spotted the rigging on the ships. I think they're on the right hand side. They were fully rigged.
Yeah, there's some on the right, and then there's some at the back.
They were fully rigged. Fucking tryhards.
The elves won. So not only did the elves win the entire 3 games, they went 3-0 for all 3 games. They also won best painted.
But to be fair, there is some very nice freehand on those elven miniatures. So it's not entirely undeserved that guy won the award, was it?
No.
Okay. Are these? Can I ask a question while you're at a pause? Are these crossbows for the flying guys and standing guys? They're universal except for the fact they're left and right. They are the same piece. Yeah.
Yes. They are the same piece.
So as long as I get the left and right aspect right, then that's all I need to worry about. Okay. Gotcha. Got it.
So yeah, it was a really, really good play experience, really good fun up there. I will definitely be going back if there's another event up there for Armada.
Now, before we move off this, do you want to just tell everybody, because you had actually sort of like been lurking in a couple of forums, and people were surprised that you took so much veteran, weren't they?
Yes, so I asked for a little bit of feedback on my list because I took all veteran. And there was a couple of guys that waded in and went, there's too much veteran there. The guy that placed second also won 3 games. He was running all veteran Kingdoms of Men. So
hello, you what?
It's a thing, I think. And then there was a range of stuff across some of the other factions. So there was a couple of factions that were all veteran. One of the Kingdoms of Men. The Abyssal Dwarves that I played against were running a mix of veteran, regular, and inexperienced.
Yeah, because we were a bit. You were a bit concerned going.
Men player was even running all veteran as well.
Okay. What was the elf? You said the elves won. Was the elf fairly vet?
Not sure because I didn't play them.
Okay, that's fair. If you didn't know, but as I say, we were. Because when we played our sort of like games in the club, we'd all come to the conclusion veterans really good because it buffs so much.
Veterans huge. like game 2, we played Plant a Flag, which is the one where I tabled Alex. At the end of every round, or at the beginning of every round, from starting at the second round, you have to make a skill check or be blown 4 inches following the wind direction. So if you are not veteran and you're inexperienced or you're regular, 1 in 3 times you're not moving, or 1 times you're not moving 4 inches away from the objectives you need to get to. As a slow dwarf player, that is crippling.
Yeah, because we were really weirded out when everybody was like, "Why are you running veteran? Why are you running veteran?" I was like,
The only
because it's
other
good.
thing I was a little bit disappointed at Mantic was we were running on the small cardboard fold-out mats, which are not 4x4. And then some players also bought 4x4 neoprene. So we had some tables on 4x4, some tables on the paper mat, and it made for some weird play experiences.
And you discovered something important about your Mantic acrylic measuring gauge, didn't you?
Oh, yes. The 8-inch measuring gauge is not 8 inches. But...
QC! QC!
I did make a joke with Alex on the way home, though, that you shouldn't really be taking dick pictures with it in the background, because obviously it'll adjust the scale accordingly.
Oh dear, fucking hell! So yeah, a good time was had by all. It was a shame I couldn't attend because David bought me a ticket, but I had a family. Basically, my youngest stepson, lives down south, in sort of Brighton, Woking area, and we literally only see him once a year, bless him. And he decided that weekend was the weekend he was going to come up. So obviously, family has to come first. So I had to miss out because we were spending some time with John. We're going out for a meal with the family and stuff. But if there's another one, I'll probably go along because it looks like they had a fantastic day out, and I love the fact that it was quite chill, and not stressy.
Yeah, it wasn't salty in the slightest. The only semi-annoying thing was because obviously you ended up dropping out. The TO had to play, so the TO wasn't available for sort of questions as they cropped up.
Yeah, because you'd gone to an odd number of players.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. So yeah, that was that was the weekend, wasn't it? So that's pretty much that covered. Let me just go.
Much fun was had. It's a shame that beers were not also drunk. Because it was fun. It was a good experience, and I think next time if they run another one, I'll be going up with a different faction, or try and just spice my list up a bit. Because again, there was 3 dwarf players there, but we were all running different lists. Like one was running a dreadnought and 2 little shitty chaff boats, and then the other player was running a list fairly similar to mine, but had gone more for the cheaper stuff.
I want to play some more at club, or certainly when we have our gaming evenings, because I want to try my magic list, and see if I can.
Oh, that's a point. I don't think magic even featured in the tournament.
So nobody was running magic.
Yeah, we had a conversation with 2 lads before we started about, do you think magic's going to be here, and is that a thing, etc. And both me and Alex were like, nah, don't think it'll be a big point. It's over costed for what it is when you actually look at it. And lo and behold, me and Alex were proved right.
Okay, so it's one of them things where a list's competitiveness only can suffer when you start incorporating a lot of magic. No, that's fair enough.
News, sir, because we've got 10 minutes. Go,
yeah, hang
go,
on a minute.
gadget news.
Hang on a minute, because Shakos did ask about the Shakos did ask, because I said about crossbows. Shakos did ask. So for you, James, this is what. Hello.
Get out.
Refresh. Hurrah. This is what I'm talking about. Oh, go away. Why is that? Salt Shaker David, turn it off. Fade.
I'm not even being salty.
This is crossbows with wings, flying crossbow demons. These are from Artisan Guild, ones and zeros.
You got it right.
We are, and these are being used as Hrut stingers in Frostgrave. God bless you, North Star Miniatures, and all the work that you do, but I do think these are better than the Hrut stingers that are available from North Star. And why the hell do you only do the stingers and none of the other Hrut range? Long hammers and fucking warriors, and that is mad. So, because obviously Artisan Guild do a much more complete range, I got David to do the business for me and print me these little guys off, and I think they look absolutely spanking. So that's what we mean. Right, now where am I? Oh yeah.
It's the part of the show that we have come to know as the latest salty blizzard of nerdy sorrow. More news than you can shake the salt at. More news than you can shake the salt at.
There you go. It's the news. Right. So let's do it. 200 mile an hour. We've only got 10 minutes. We can do this. So what did we see on YouTube this week that was cool? There's quite a few people did this video. Can I get it to go to? There you go. This top miniatures line data was lifted by somebody from, I think it was a Gamma trade fair in North America, and I think it represents last quarter sales for the tabletop hobby in the miniatures sector. No shock and surprise, Games Workshop smashed it at the top, but there was some quite interesting things here. Fucking Heroscaping at number 5. MS Paints did a video about it. As I say, loads of creators did a video about it. If you're interested in this sort of chat about the hobby, it's a good little video. Dave's take particularly is incredibly watchable. We won't go on about how fantastic Dave is as a fucking video creator because it gets tedious. But yeah, Halo Flashpoint absolutely storming it in there for Mantic. So yeah, a great little video, and as I say, if you want to watch a video on the topic, you could go a lot further than find a better one than Dave. You'd have to go very far to find a better one than Dave's. This is a little video that I liked. Carl Walmsley. He's got a little channel where he does these head-to-head things. He just did this short video, 12 minutes, on great wargaming companies, and he didn't mention GW. All of the people you would expect to hear, TT Combat, Mantic, fucking War Cradle.
Cool Mini or not?
Simon, I don't think were one of the 5. Dystopian he did. Frostgrave, Osprey were in, and he picked Frostgrave, but obviously he did cover the fact that Osprey are far more than that. They do so many games, but it's a great little video, and I really like Carl's style. His videos are just really watchable. He's a content creator that I sometimes wish there was a bit more meat on the bone, but I guess that's why his videos are successful and ours aren't, because he gets to the point, keeps everything tightly scripted, and doesn't waffle.
Doesn't waffle for an hour.
Doesn't talk bollocks for an hour. So it would be nice actually to get him, to see him do more, as I say, more, get deeper under the bonnet on just one topic, because he seems like a really sound guy. This was fucking hilarious. Mantic did a Wave 2 video for Halo Flashpoint, and I don't know if anybody in the chat has seen this. Oh yes, of course.
Wasn't he?
One of the other ones he mentioned was Atomic Mass Games. Yeah, sorry guys, I can't see the chat when I'm off on the other screen. Yeah, if anyone saw this, and I was telling David that it was cracking me up because the audio. You think that we produce fucking shit with technical difficulties? This video, I don't know what's happened to the audio, but fucking Andy's is like here and Roddy's is here. So Roddy's talking and then you just hear Andy go, "I'm going to cover my mic," because it's just Andy goes.
Yeah, but isn't it so it makes it easier for Ronnie to be censored when he teases all the shit that he shouldn't be teasing?
I thought that was fucking brilliant. I could just imagine that they're like, quick, drown him out with Andy. Drown him out with Andy.
Andy's only got to talk over him and problem solved. No more teasers, bitches.
Oh, dear. I thought that... Do you know what? I so hope that is the answer. And it's not just, a fuck up on the edit. But it's brilliant. So much. It's funny. Again, I wasn't... Do you know what, though? Here's another thing, right? God damn it. When my stepson came over, John, I don't normally watch a lot of TV. I watch a lot of YouTube, but I don't watch a lot of television, terrestrial TV or streaming or whatever. And John said, "Oh, have you seen Halo, the TV show?" And I'm like, I've played one of the computer games once and it bored the tits off me because I'm shit at those first-person shooter games because I don't have the reflexes for them. But I was like, I'm hosting family. I'm not going to be rude and say, "Oh, it's shit, I'm not watching that." So John put it on Netflix, and it was actually quite good. I think...
Were you pleasantly surprised?
Do you know what? I binged the whole goddamn thing over Saturday and Sunday with him, and I really enjoyed it. I mean, if you're into the game franchise, it might be completely shit, but as I know absolutely nothing about the game franchise, I thought it was quite good. And it actually made me think, oh, I wouldn't mind playing that game. And then I thought, no, I must not. So what you guys say it sucked? What actually sucked about it? Because as I say, I mean, it was as convoluted. It was preposterously convoluted with the fucking implanting of the fucking AI, whatever her name is, into his brain. Cortana. I mean, it was just like preposterous. But I mean, it was just good escapist telly, I thought.
Master Chef, not Master Chief, Master Chef. I didn't realise we were getting past her now.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, it did seem a little bit contrived when he was like, he just decides to sort of like break his orders so easily. Yeah, but as I say, I'm not heavily invested. I guess it's one of them things like, I didn't like Game of Thrones, even when everybody was raving about it, because more Little Chef than Master Chef. That's very funny. Yeah, I probably it's better to come with sort of like newbie's eyes, Darren. Yeah, as I say, I think because this was season 1. Am I right in thinking there's a season 2? Because my other stepson James says there's a season 2, but it's on Paramount, is it? Because again, these streaming companies can't put anything in one place. It has to be scattered to the 4 fucking winds, because that would be too easy. Or am I wrong about that? I don't know. But again, it's that's the other thing about it that I wish they would just fucking stop doing. Why don't you just make an 8-episode season and then stop and go and do something else? Why the fucking hell does everything have to have a ridiculous open-ended ending so that the gate's always open for season 2? It's like, just fucking move on to a different project. Please, God. Not everything needs to be 3 seasons.
One thing I will say, looking forward to Fallout Season 2, though.
Night, Darren. Seven Samurai, I haven't seen that in years. I'll have to look out for The Warlord, Crispin. I imagine when you say old, it's old. Yeah, Sherlock, another one. Fantastic at the beginning. It's like, do a season, stop. You've got a great idea for modernising Sherlock Holmes. It's got some intrigue and some twists to it.
The BBC Sherlock?
Oh, yes. It's just like... It just, because the thing is, these things only get worse as they go to.
I think BBC Sherlock was good. All of it was good.
No, Shakos, don't bring back 20 episode runs of anything, or at least very few things. If something's got to be fucking running for 20 episodes, please fucking God, it's got to be brilliant. This was an interesting video, I thought, anyway. Squidmar did a video on pricing GW, sort of like basically trying to demystify why the fucking hell everything Games Workshop makes costs so bloody much. And I don't want to do him a disservice. He's not an apologist here. He just throws some numbers about and talks about like the miniature design process, everything from concepting to art drawings to prototypes and 3D sculpts, and then manufacture and distribution and advertising.
Mold tools are a little bit expensive.
So it is what it is. But I think even at the end he says like, if the Games Workshop kits were made by the company that was small, you could understand why they were pricing them so high, because they want their break-even point to be so low. Like, oh, I've cleared 100 units, I've broken even. But it doesn't...
Yeah, but GW never is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? GW is ridiculous.
And it's like, when you actually look at it in the context of, yeah, but you're not clearing 100 units, are you, Games Workshop? You're clearing 100,000 fucking...
Shakos has hit the nail on the head, though.
What? Capitalism.
10-second video. 10-second video.
Yeah, I mean, 1 second. But yeah, as I say, it's interesting to see somebody tackling the topic. I mean, I'm glad I'm out of it. Their stuff carries a ridiculous premium price, and obviously it's all because of their corporate model and the fact that shareholders have to be paid, and this continued growth every quarter.
You mean
fucking
people
mantra.
Want to go to work and receive money for their work?
To be honest, Pandy, yeah, probably. You know, make sure your break-even point is low enough that you're not taking a massive risk with your future. Because the other thing, again, it tells you whether your model's realistic or not, ultimately, I guess. Because this is the downside of not being, aggressive enough with your pricing. You create a situation where you haven't got a business, you've got like a side hustle that doesn't support you.
Cheese me. IKEA have good manuals.
Yeah, I mean, that is fair. I don't suppose... The only thing wrong with Games Workshop books is they come along every 2 fucking minutes.
Yeah.
You know,
They're
the biggest
they're a
shame.
little bit intense, isn't it?
You know, the biggest shame about a Games Workshop rulebook or campaign book is that they invest so much time into the art, so much time into the fucking production and layout and content, then you only get 3 months use out of the fucking thing. You know, it's like, why? Fucking
Iconography's good,
moronic.
cheese me. Iconography means you don't have to do translations.
And just because the internet needed one, we have another slap chop video.
Another one?
Another slap chop video, and this time from Ninjon. And do you know what? In fairness, I'm actually tempted to try this. I think I might try this. I do not follow painting topics on the YouTubes, and I only watch this video because it's Ninjon, and sometimes his videos are very watchable and cool. And I just had it on in the background. But actually, what he does is basically he does like a double slap chop. So he goes the usual grayscale highlighted prime, then contrast paints over the top, then he re-highlights with the dry brush, and then he goes in with slightly different tones of contrast that are sort of like highlight tones in rabbit ears. And actually, the way that it steps up the appearance of the mini, let me see if I can show you this. Oh, go away, advert, for fuck's sake. Does anybody want a pair of Levi's? Because apparently YouTube thinks we do. This is actually, I mean, I think the difference is pretty fucking good. I mean, look at that cape.
I mean, I would, but I've got a picture of a butt in my face right now. I'm
can bit your tongue off. To be fair, Shakos, it does sound a faff, but it's like Ninjon does break it down. To get to stage 1 that you're looking at there is about an hour. Prime, dry brush 2 or 3 shades, contrast paint, and you're done. The next step is only 10 to 18 minutes extra work. So it's about a fifth to a third extra time. Oh dear. Fucking hell. I love the way that you and Cheese Me are literally typing the same thing at the same time, James. That's fucking funny. Yeah, 1.5 hours per mini. Which I don't think is bad. Again, you've got to remember, these are Games Workshop minis, Cheese Me. There's that many different details on them. Yes.
Back in your box, back in your box, back in your box. Because I've done an entire 8-man Warcry warband in less than an hour a mini.
God almighty. I don't even know why I bother. But anyway.
Production, boys and girls, production.
That's not an army. But yeah, I thought this was quite a good video. And then he does a step 3, which for me is like, no, now you're going too far. And he starts doing fucking 10 or 15 minutes of edge highlighting on stuff. And it's like, you're starting to lose it again, Ninjon. Starting to lose it. I do like his self-aware content because he calls himself out. 1.5 hours. I banged out 30 minutes in an evening with the chopping of the slab. 1.5 GWS. Yeah, to be fair, Ewok, though, were they Games Workshop miniatures where they had that many fucking details on it, you had to use 37 colours per miniature to fucking paint the bastard things. But I tell you, I mean, this video has inspired me in 2 ways. I had pretty much given up on the old contrast paint, speed paint idea because I've reverted to my type of just doing basic colours, wash, done, move on with your life. But it's actually made me think, I like the results he's getting. I might expand because I've only got 20 odd shades of speed paint. I
Yeah.
might expand my range so that I could try this. And as I say, I was
Cool.
thinking specifically about trying it on my Fallout Wasteland Warfare stuff.
Here's a question for you, Ginge, a second.
said,
Drakenhof Nightshade to wash this skin tone, or Griff Charger Grey contrast, which is like a bluey grey?
how blue is the Griff Charger?
Let me find. Bear with me. Who is it that fucking? Bear with me.
To be fair, that grey you've got, that sort of creamy silvery grey, you really want. I think you'd be better off with the darker wash.
The Drakenhof.
Yeah. Would be my gut instinct. Depends how hard you squeeze it. Oh my god. So yeah, that is the news.
Let's see if my webcam picks this up.
Okay, right. Content display. Okay.
No, it's got to come from the webcam up here.
Oh, right. Okay. Okay. Is that Griff Charger grey painted in various?
Yeah, it's the.
I think
who's
you.
it called?
Oh my god. I.
The painter's paint chart.
I think you'll want to use the Drakenhof Nightshade, mate. You'll want it darker.
That's what she said.
Because again, you want to push the contrast on your skin for your faces and all that sort of shit, don't you?
Yeah, I'm on it.
Oh dear.
I'm just
right,
mixing it up now.
That was the news. 9:10.
Yeah, we're 10 minutes late. Let's get going.
Oh my god! Look at him cracking the whip. Fuck me.
I'm disappointed. We've lost our pizzazz because usually we've been very good with our scheduling, and as of late we have always been late.
Which show's he been on? Which show's he on? It's not this one. I know that. We need a. I'm just thinking to myself, we don't have a main topic jingle.
What? Where are you?
Right. We're back to the slideshows. I thought, do you know what? It's been a while since we've had a slideshow, so let's have a slideshow.
There will be a test on this at the end of class, boys and girls. Marks out of 10. If you fail, you will have to reset.
Fucking resets. Oh dear. Fucking hell. If only he was joking. Oh dear. Look.
You got to get them watch hours up on YouTube, mate.
Cheese me. I did produce these on PowerPoint, so just be careful. Right. Hobby tools. Have at you with my tweezers. Here's a hobby tool everybody needs. Pipe. Lighter. Don't smoke, kids.
Paul. Hobby tool. Hobby tool.
Where's the Yellow Belly logo? Here, between our beautiful visage.
Yeah, but why are you not pushing the brand on every single slide like corporate?
Oh, sorry. So I've got to add. Okay, so now I need to add Yellow Belly watermarks to each of these inset images. Yellow Belly to the fucking slides. I'll just email YouTube to see if I can get my Yellow Belly watermark on the fucking chat window. Fucking hell. Lloyd is here, hobby tool. I couldn't possibly comment, cheese, to Ewok, rather. Dear. Fucking hell. That's a great idea for a T-shirt
Waiting
for him,
for
though,
the
isn't it?
slide with the Saxa
Yeah,
sponsorship.
do you know what? I definitely might get you that T-shirt for Christmas, sponsored by Saxa. Fuck me, that would be funny. You'll have to wear. In fact, could I get it for you before UKGE?
Yes, you can, because Sam's sister makes T-shirts.
Do you know what? Those would be quite cool to wear for UKGE if we've got the Yellow Belly logo on the front and sponsored by Saxa on the back. That would be pretty fucking funny.
It's the awkward moment where somebody works at Saxa and goes, "No, you fucking not."
Excuse me.
And we end
We're
up with
suing.
a cease and desist. Yeah.
See you later, cheese me. Right. Let's crack on. So, today's topic, just in case I know everybody's been struck blind or can't be bothered to look at the screen, we're talking about hobby tools. So, the way David and I thought we'd go about this is talk about, first of all, the hobby tools that we would consider essential. So, literally, if you were starting this hobby tomorrow, the things that if we were asked, you basically can't say that you're doing this hobby until you have them. Ewok. Oh my god. Don't tell me Aldi have a Saxo brand salt. Surely Citron can sue because they've got a car, haven't they? So
Different field, mate.
Sorry?
Different field.
Oh, okay, so you're allowed to use different brand names for different things in different fields, are you?
Yes.
Oh.
I don't know how it works.
I've learned something new. I didn't know that. Then again, I don't sit in branded fields. Yeah, so the first slide, and these, I guess, really aren't in any particular order. Because...
Yeah, so these are kind of the things that if you were to be struck down tomorrow, lose all your hobby gear and have to start again, what are the things that you need to immediately go out and get to carry on hobbying?
Yeah. And by the same definition, this slide, nothing's in any particular order because basically you need all of these things to do this hobby. So brushes is the first thing. Now, paintbrushes are not all made equal. Some paintbrushes won't serve you very well in this hobby. Having said that, you do not have to spend a fortune on sable or that sort of thing, as long as they are, craft brushes designed for miniature painting that
can come to a decent point.
Exactly. So like floppy-ended watercolor brushes or bloody those sort of flat spatula brushes that you use for daubing on oils.
Hard horsehair ones.
Yeah. They are not going to serve you particularly well. But any sort of, like, as I say, craft brush that comes to a relatively decent tip will serve you well. The other thing is, again, for the beginners, don't go too small. You probably need a bigger, whatever brush you think you need, go one size higher. Because that's the trap most of us fall into when we first start. Probably not so much now because there's so much on the internet. But I know for a fact back in the day when we were sort of like teaching ourselves to paint out of magazines and stuff like that, everybody got tiny fucking microscopic brushes to start with. And they're no good because they don't hold enough paint. You're constantly having to refresh them, and it takes you ages to get anything done, which really crushes your spirit when you're first starting out. So,
and they dry out like fucking summer.
Yeah. yeah, size 2 is a good shout, Shakos. Um, Paints. This one is dead easy because you are now completely spoilt for choice as regards paints. There are so many.
Citadel, Vallejo, Army Painter, Pro Acryl, loads. The only thing we would probably
AK Interactive.
Against, yeah, is don't get a thin paint like a contrast or equivalent.
Yeah.
Get some washes, get some base paints, be done with it.
Yeah,
and the other thing here is don't stumble into buying the sets.
No.
They seem a good idea, but you're actually better off for your initial stuff just getting the stuff you need for a particular project.
Yep.
And then go and develop your collection from there.
Definitely. It seems really attractive when you see the mega paint set from Brand X with 200 colours. But like David said, don't do that. Will you end up spending more per pot in the end? Probably, but it'll take you about 3 years to get to that amount of paint anyway, and you'll have probably experimented with half a dozen brands, and you'll have a much more interesting paint collection by the time you're finished, and you'll be much smarter about what you know about how to use hobby paints. So obviously stick to basic acrylic model paints, water-based model paints. Don't go for fucking enamels or crazy fucking oil paints or anything exotic. When you're talking about painting miniatures, whether they're made out of resins, plastics, metals, just yeah, just as I say, it's just I wish I had had a more eclectic and open mind to when I started buying paints and hadn't become quite so invested in one range, because I think I would have a more interesting selection of paints. Now I'm sort of committed. I'm struggling to kick myself out of the rut and buy other things. It's like David. This is something David's way better at than I am. You will just fearlessly just pick 2 or 3 colours. Like you picked up those TT Combat paints, and they were shockingly good, weren't they?
Yes, they are. They're the unsung heroes here, I think.
Yeah. So yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, I don't mind experimenting, but the other thing is buy some essential paints. Like if you're gonna paint some black or brown leather, go for fucking leather brown from Vallejo. Don't try and reinvent the wheel. Do some other bits and pieces. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. The next category, general tools. We're talking about all of the things that you'll need to basically get your models assembled and prepped ready for paint. So
snips, a decent scalpel, some form of glues, ideally plastic glue if you're building plastic miniatures, but obviously you might be cutting your teeth with some resins depending on what game is your game of poison, and therefore you need super glues.
Again, glue is a bit complicated because, like David said, different substrates require different glues. So if you're working with metal, you're going to need a good quality super glue as a minimum. And to be fair, if you're working with big metal, which probably won't come till later on in your hobby, you might need an epoxy just to stop the fucking things falling to bits after 6 months. But yeah, so I mean, glues broadly, you've got cyanoacrylate or super glue, as we call it in the UK. You have solvent-based plastic polystyrene glues that literally melt the plastic and create a weld. And you've also got sort of like the plastic polymer glues, things like PVA and
I was about to say, don't overlook PVA because it's on there for basing.
Yeah.
A good quality builder's PVA. Buy a decent sized bottle of it. Here's one I prepared earlier, boys and girls. I think that's about £3 for 250ml from B&Q.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's lasted me absolutely ages.
Yeah.
And I know it says on it it's wood adhesive, but it's PVA. Same shit.
Yeah. I mean, that's to be fair, for the beginner, there are very few traps, I would say.
Don't buy kiddies PVA.
Yeah. One of the traps is like if you walk into a pound store or a dollar store in the US and you see like the cheap craft paints like people use in nursery classes and for kids, and you see like cheap fucking PVA glue that they use in primary schools. Honestly, those things are shit. They can be useful in big terrain projects and stuff where the quality is immaterial and the amount that you're going to use is massive, so you want it as cheap as possible. But for miniature painting, steer the fuck away. Buy dedicated model paints and buy good quality glues. Like David said, if you go into a DIY store and you find PVA in there that's designed for sizing walls and that sort of stuff, it's got a much higher acrylate content. It's got, if you need to thin it for a hobby purpose, you just add water and you can thin it. But you're starting with something that is actually a way better product in the first place.
It's got a good body on it, I think is the correct terminology there, isn't it?
Oh, do you know? You see, this is what I was hoping would happen. So, like Ewok says, wood glue is a shout, because wood glue, 9 times out of 10, unless it's got some other sort of like coloured polymer in it to make it look more like a wood putty, it's basically PVA. So again, and because it's a wood glue, you'll find it's a better quality than a craft product because it's intended to bond pieces of wood together, and they account for the fact that might be a piece of load-bearing furniture. So, do you know what I mean? It's generally
better. It's got
better.
my fat ass on it.
Yeah. Another tip about hobby blades, right? There are all sorts of X-Acto blades, craft knives. I've had all sorts. The ones where the collar tightens around the blade. My hot tip is this. Get a scalpel. A proper medical scalpel. Because you buy the handle and then you can buy the blades in boxes of like 100. Because I tell you, one of the things that people, again, hands up if you're guilty of this, one of the things that we don't do when we're first starting in the hobby is change our blades anywhere near often enough. So you want to buy...
Take it from experience, boys and girls.
Yeah, same here.
If you change that blade, at least when you slip and stab yourself, the cut will be a lot cleaner to get it stitched back together.
Well, if you've bought yourself decent super glue, you can actually literally just pinch it through and glue it. So, but yeah, the beauty of the scalpels is that the blades are so cheap that you will literally not worry about throwing them away after you've used them to cut 2 or 3 miniatures or mold line 2 or 3 models. If it feels blunt and it's hard work, just chuck it.
Damon's hit a good one here as well. Is the traps of hobby tax. Don't necessarily go by your snips or your hobby X-Acto blade. Again, as we've just mentioned, a scalpel is designed for medical, podiatry, and other purposes. It does not suffer from the hobby tax. Again, Shakos here. I will throw it out. Swan and Morton scalpel handles at the £4 to £7 that they are for the stainless steel.
Yeah,
they're fucking bomb proof.
Yep.
They last forever, and the other really nice thing about them versus the X-Acto blade is how the blade's actually retained and held in the handle.
Yep.
Because I have had no end of X-Acto blades held in the four-way chuck snap on me midway through doing something.
Yeah.
I've had the odd scalpel shatter, but not to the same amount.
Yeah. The other beauty of a scalpel handle and blades is like you buy the blades in boxes of 100. If you want like a flat-ended blade for like chopping something out of a sprue, you just buy a different. You just pop it on, pop it off. You've got the one thing becomes such a useful tool. And again, it avoids the hobby tax that Damon's talking about. The one thing you should never do, buy any hobby tool that's got like a brand for our hobby on it. I mean, God bless Army.
Go down to your local Lidl, Aldi, when they've got the middle of Lidl specials, and buy yourself a set of like work zone snips.
Yeah,
they're just as good.
The only because I mean, God bless them, I did put the tool pack from Army Painter on the thumbnail, but don't buy that. You know, you'll get better quality glue, better quality files, better quality snips for less money by buying the fucking things loose just from a hobby or craft store under, you know, generic name rather than a brand. The only thing I would say about snips is something they can get insanely expensive. I think that the old God hands and all these bloody ridiculous Japanese ones, I don't think they're worth the money. Tell me I'm wrong in the comments.
At the end of the day, here's my hot take on it. Snips are a cutting tool. They are pinching and crushing the plastic between two beveled edges.
Yeah.
Over time, those beveled edges will wear, and you will throw away a couple of snips because they're no good for cutting plastic anymore and getting a nice, good edge to them. You can demote those to cutting all of your wire and other shit that you do when you are no longer in this beginner section and you come on to the next step. But we'll talk more on that in a bit.
Yeah. The other thing is that when you go, if you see snips that are very, very, very cheap, just make sure that the blade arrangement is like it's an overcut, like a scissor, so the blades will actually cross by about 0.5 mm, because they will snip clean. The really cheap, the first pair of clippers I bought when I got back into the hobby after my long time away, the blades butted against each other, and they don't cut the plastic as much as crush it.
Would you like to come down to my desk cam a minute and we can show the boys and girls what we're on about?
Oh, have you literally got some crushing ones?
I've got a set in my hands that are slightly overset to one another.
Yeah, okay. Because the problem with the ones where the blades are fully aligned, you want it on your desk cam, mate.
Yeah, desk cam.
Just let me just fiddle with this. Is that they won't give you a clean cut. They will literally just crush the plastic. So it needs to have. Is the term reciprocating blades? What's it called?
There's a special word for it.
It does have a term, and you'll see it written in the snip description. But they literally just like a pair of scissors. The blades will cross by about 0.5 mm.
But when you look at the end, if I can, can I zoom? Can I zoom?
Oh,
there we go.
That zoomed.
So as these come closer together to one another, this bottom blade's actually set this side of the top blade.
Yeah, it butts off.
So it cuts down and pulls the material to snip. And these are cheap work zone ones from Aldi.
Steel ruler's a good shout, but probably not for the beginner, but for the next step, Damon. That is a good shout, mate. The problem I find with the X-Acto blade knives, and you'll spend anywhere between 5 and 10 quid for a knife, and then it'll have like a pack of 3 blades with it or whatever, and then you can buy the blades separately, and they're like 5 blades for a fiver or whatever the fuck it is. The problem is they end up being a cost that you're conscious of, so you don't change the bloody things as often as you should. Do you know what I mean? And that's why I think a scalpel's an absolute fucking winner.
Here we go, boys and girls, just before Paul dives away from me. Not overly applicable if you're not in the UK, but Art Studio is a brand that you can pick up at the range, and they do a pack of these kind of synthetic style brushes that go to a decent point, size 12 down to, I think it's like a size 0.
Do you know what? That is another good point about brushes, right? Apart from the very, very first time you buy brushes, don't ever buy the packs that David is describing. Because what you'll want is like, there'll be the size that's just right for you, size 2, size 3, size 1, and you'll want to keep buying loads of that brush. So if they only come as a set of 4 or 5 and you don't use 4 of them, don't bother.
And the other thing I will say, if you're just starting out, do not be afraid of picking up a couple of packs. Like, both of these are available at the range. Both of these are Art Studio. One has a barrel handle. One has this sort of triangular body.
I love those triangular bodied handles.
Don't be afraid of getting a few paintbrushes and trying and experimenting to find what's most comfortable for you, for how you're holding, how you're painting, how you're working.
Yeah. I mean, again, just on that topic, I wish I could get more of those triangular handle brushes easier at a good price, because I love that handle design.
Yeah.
So if anybody knows of a fantastic, doesn't have to be sable, synthetic's fine, fantastic good quality brush range where I can just buy single brushes with that shape handle in the UK, stick it in the comments, please, because I fucking love those handles, and they're not easy to get consistently.
What's next on the list? I think it's lighting, isn't it?
Lights. Ah! Okay, this again.
Hang on, we're gonna go to dark mode.
We're talking about lights, so of course David turns his off. This is another thing, right, peeps? One of the reasons we wanted to break this down in terms of beginner and then more advanced is that, speaking from experience, most people in the hobby don't put this one, lights, anywhere near high enough the priority list. Okay? Cheap gooseneck lamp from Amazon, 20 quid, and a 6,000 Kelvin bulb or a daylight bulb from your local fucking DIY store. That's all you need.
Other alternative, in a similar vein, is get yourself to Amazon. Go back to some of our early content. Don't watch it for the video, but watch it when I was in my parents' house with the little strip light I used to have. It was about 8 inches long, about 1 inch wide, and it was just USB LED powered. I could change the color, I could change the brightness. And actually, what Paul is saying about getting 6,000 Kelvin and daylight bulbs is really good. But the other thing I will say is, if you've got the capability of dimming slightly with an LED, you can then make it work for you and what you're comfortable with.
Yeah. The most important thing about the lighting is the colour balance. Because standard interior lighting normally has more yellow frequencies than blue. So it'll distort the colour palette of what you're painting. So the colour quality, because if you were to just get a standard bloody reading light, or something like that, unless it's daylight balanced, it'll be terrible to paint with, even if it's really bright. Even if you can see really well, you'll find your colours will look dramatically different when the sun rises and you leave the house. And you'll think, I didn't paint it that colour. So, but yeah, start thinking about lights early on.
Ideally, you want something posable. Just putting a daylight bulb in your room isn't necessarily good enough.
No.
You want something that is within probably the arm's length around you at most, that you can position, move, tweak to aid you doing what you're doing, whether it be building, whether it be painting, that kind of thing.
I mean, to be fair, if your hobby space is in some sort of workshop where you have 20 feet of strip lighting to light a place that's 6 foot by 8, then it's probably going to work fine, because that workshop has obviously been designed with ridiculously powerful light to work under. But most domestic environments do not even come close to that amount of light, and you will need way more light than you think you do to do this job well. Because the brutal truth of it is, and I say this all the time to people who are new to painting, you cannot paint what you cannot see. You know, you will, because the thing is, you'll frustrate yourself because you'll think, oh, my brush control can't be very good, blah, 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 blah. But it's nothing to do with any of that. The reason it doesn't look very good is because you can't fucking see it.
Yeah.
Now then, we've put basing sand, basic, just bog standard builder's sand is what I've used for years as my basic bitch painting product.
Here's some I prepared earlier.
Yeah, it is dirt cheap. You can buy a 10-kilo bag for nothing. If it's a little bit damp because it's been stored out stores when you buy it from the DIY store or garden centre, just pour it onto like a baking tray, stick it in your oven for 200 degrees for an hour or two. It'll soon dry right the fuck out. You'll get all the moisture out of it, and it'll work a treat. And honestly, like a baking tray full of sand will base thousands of miniatures. Now, just to say here, somebody did shout out that they've given up on sand and gone to the AK basing pastes. Who was it who shouted that out?
Was it Shakos? I'd avoid the sand. I think AK or Vallejo base paints are cracking for less than a tenner.
Yeah, well, there you go. This is what I hoped would happen as we talked about this, that the guys would shout out. So, there you go then. So we've put, because again,
and the main reason that we have said sand is the fact that it's universal. You can be painting miniatures in a jungle, on a beach, in a desert, etc., and you can just paint over it.
Yeah,
I know the basing pastes you can as well, but again, if
to be fair, the basing pastes have colour in, so they just remove the step.
If you've got a decent sharp sand that's got a variety of grains, you can, if you are careful when you shake the container to begin with, sort of order it so that you can get some consistency across what you're doing that particular session, and you don't have a load of chunky gravel in it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean the other thing about sand is, the reason we put it there is because you can get it everywhere. And it is, don't get us wrong, we are talking about absolute minimum. What do I need to get going? PVA glue, sand, paint the sand in the colour you want. Paint it brown, paint it black, paint it grey, whatever. Just fucking paint the sand. And it's a really quick, paint it fucking green if you want. But I mean, Shakos has got a good shout there. Definitely, when you start to go up and move on, you want more sophisticated basing products. And there's another one on here that somebody's going to say that's not a tool, and you're right. But as we were having this conversation, we wanted to mention this. The other thing that people don't think about early enough in their hobby career is a space to work or storage or a way to pack up your work kit. And what we mean by this is to engage with this hobby. It's a bit like the only example I can think of is like you've got an exercise bike at home, but before you can use that exercise bike, you've got to spend 30 minutes putting it together like you did when you first bought it, you know.
Yeah.
And it came in a flat pack box. How fucking often are you going to use that exercise bike? Never. You're just not going to do it very often, because the assembly and setup time immediately becomes a barrier for action. And one of the things that we all learn as hobbyists is that as soon as you can find a little corner of your home where you've got the stuff as accessible as you can make it. And I appreciate people live in all sorts of different circumstances. You're a young couple living in a 1-bedroom flat and you've got a child under 2, you're going to be struggling. But even if you can find some sort of like corner desk or a box that you can keep everything in with a lid that you can lift up and then work off the lid of the box, any kind of storage solution which makes your access to your painting space as quick as possible. As I say, I know it's probably really boring.
I will say, ideally, you want a hard surface for this. You want a hard surface to be resting on painting, putting your elbows down and on for painting your miniatures so that you've got stability and you can learn about brush control, etc.
Yeah.
Because it's all well and good thinking, oh, well, I can just paint a couple of bits in the lounge with the missus, watching some TV, etc. But you run the risk of spillage, you run the risk of damaging your furniture, and because it's all a soft furnishing, if the dog you've got decides that he's going to jump up on the sofa, all of your fucking miniatures and bits that you're working on are going to go flying.
Yeah, I mean, never say never, but because the other thing as well is, by the way, I just want to call out, I did say this, Ewok. I did say, Ewok says, when I first started painting minis in 2017, I swore I would never bother with basing. I did say right at the beginning, you could just say paint the base one colour and say fuck it. That is a valid strategy when you're first starting.
And you'll also note, boys and girls, we've mentioned nothing about priming here.
Yes. The vast majority of model kits you will buy now are plastic. And you know what? If you're first starting, you can use good quality hobby acrylic paints direct onto plastic. They will work. Don't worry about it. The other reason, just to mention storage and space to work one last time, the problem, as I perceive it, is it's boring. It's boring to think about lights. It's boring to think about space and storage. It's much more fun to doom scroll for a new paint, doom scroll for a new brush range, doom scroll for some new fancy basing compound. But honestly, you need to change the priorities sometimes to get the best out of the hobby.
Yeah.
Where were we? So we've got less than 15 minutes left. So let's quickly talk through the next level. So this slide represents stuff that you do not need at the beginning, but you're definitely going to move into. And I'm just going to leave it on the screen, and we're going to chat. We're not going to talk about everything, but some of the guys have been talking about it in the chat here. You've got basing pastes. You can 3D print little detail pieces to put on your bases. You can use all those unused parts from those kits that you don't have, the upgrade bags and the weapons. They can become base decorations. You've got, stuff like bloody slate chips, cork, vegetation, things like phlox, tough grass.
Static grasses.
In terms of tools, we've had guys mention things like steel rulers. Whenever you're cutting with cutting with a sharp edge, it's amazing how handy a steel ruler is. But it's not the kind of thing you're going to buy unless you do a lot of DIY. But it's really handy to have. What did you just say, mate?
Sanding sticks, bits like that.
Yeah. Yep. So, yes, you can use a blade to prepare a model and get all of the marks and mold lines off. But, treat yourself to some flexible sanding sticks so that you can get them in narrow places of your model. You can fold them round curves.
You can get them to conform to round surfaces better. Not every model that you own and paint and play with is going to have nice, hard, sharp edges for you to work with.
You can get pin vices, little handheld drills that allow you to drill models and then insert jeweler's wire and stick pieces of model together that might be made out of resin or metal. Not so essential with plastics because they're so light that plastic glue will normally do you. Razor saws for cutting really clean lines through things. Tweezers, sculpting tools. God, the name, it goes on.
Decal compounds, more fancy paints, etc.
Wet palette. Now, I think we're fair in. I think we probably should have put this higher up the list on reflection, because I think if you're stepping up your painting game, a wet palette wants to be one of the things that you get quite soon.
I think the wet palette ended up there, mate, because when we were doing this in the pre-show, we were doing this as like the list of you've completed your beginner stuff. What are you buying next to improve your hobby?
That's true.
And ideally, you want to buy like spray primers and elements like that, and the sanding sticks to clean up your models before you want to buy a wet palette for the improvement it'll actually give you on your painting.
Do you know what? I take it back. David is spot on there. Paper clips can work, Damon. I'll tell you the problem I found with paper clips, and this is probably because I'm old and I used to work a lot with metal. If you buy really cheap paper clips that are not made out of good steel, they're made out of all sorts of shitty soft alloys. And I've had literally big Tyranid models where they just break. Because they're such shit quality metal that they just don't even hold anything together. So paper clips, yes, but make sure that they are steel and good quality. Probably more
exercise caution.
Yeah, don't fucking the kind of paper clips where you get a bag of 1,000 for £1 are shit for pinning miniatures, particularly metals. Resins you might get away with it because I don't. Resin can be heavy though.
Depends a lot on the sculpt.
I personally like brass jeweler's wire because you can buy it in rolls of about 3 to 5 meters, and it will come in any diameter you want, from 0.5 mil right up to 3 mil. So, and it's brass, and it will not break. So yeah, I take everything back. David is right. All of these things on this slide are in order probably of priority, because ultimately the top things help you to present your models the best way you can for the painting process itself. By that we mean gap filling with model fillers and sanding tools to make sure that you're removing all of your mold lines and your spruce spurs and that sort of thing. Primers to make sure your paints stick and will take the wear of play. And then when you want to improve the quality of the paint scheme and improve the way that you handle the paint, wet palettes are probably the way to go. And then we've got enhanced basing, which we've talked about already, mate, haven't we?
Yeah, so your tufts and that kind of thing.
With just over 5 minutes to go, we're going to go to the last slide. Oh no, this is the next level continued. So again, another thing that David and I talked about, paint holders. I've got the Games Workshop one here with a little sort of like expandable top.
I've got 2 or 3 of those, but again, right now, look at me. I'm fucking raw dogging this miniature while I'm painting on stream.
Do you know what? There are times when you're painting a miniature. I mean, I'm looking at some of the overhang on the wings of these flying crossbowmen. I'm going to want to be able to turn this upside down and hold it probably in a strange way. And do you know what? When you need it, paint handles are great. But they're not something you're going to need all of the time. And they are very much a quality of life upgrade. So this is why they're so far down the list. Airbrush and compressor, again, it can improve your painting amount, productivity, and it can give you access to more techniques that suit bigger models. Again, most people, when they go through an arc of their gaming and hobby life, start with small 28mm figures or 32mm, 35mm. They don't start painting bloody great big tanks or massive monsters for the first year of their hobby, you know?
Depends.
You know, it's just not something you do straight away, so don't think about it. The next thing to do or think about is upgrading your brush game. If you want to spend stupid amounts of money on brushes, you can spend stupid amounts of money on brushes. There are some fantastic quality sable art brushes out there. There are loads of brands.
Raphael, we're looking at you.
Rosemary & Co. Winsor & Newton. I would always say to people, put these way down the list. If you want to treat yourself, do so. But before you invest 15, 18 quid in a fucking brush, make sure you know how to care for it. Make sure you know how to get the best out of it. Because if you buy these brushes early on in your career and you are a bit slapdash with your brush care, you will regret it, because you will get a couple of months out of them and then they'll be fucking dog shit. And then you'll be gutted. So, by all means, treat yourself, but further down the road. True Ewok. That is a scenario. David gravitated here from scale models, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
But I think you still painted more 28mm figures than you did tanks, didn't you, when you started?
No, I already had a airbrush and compressor.
Vortex mixer. I've got one. I wouldn't be without it. It's so, but again, I suppose it depends on the kind of paints you use. Some ranges are awful for mixing. My Vallejo's, this has saved my sanity, but it's not. It is very much an optional upgrade. And there's Decal solutions and pigment powders, all specialist products for specialist applications. The last slide is pimping out, and the top one is probably the one that we wanted to just mention. Upgrading existing kit. compressor, airbrush lights, etc.
So again, when we talk about earlier, we just spoke about getting an airbrush. We're not telling you to go out and spend 80, 90 quid on a Harder and Steenbeck or a Patriot airbrush. We're saying buy a cheap 25 quid Amazon, eBay special Chinese paint airbrush.
You can even get one of the fantastic little kits, can't you, mate? Where you get like a cheap airbrush, cheap compressor, line. Off you go. You're off to the races.
Learn how to care for it. Learn how to strip it. Learn how to take it apart. Learn how to thin your paints. Learn air control and that kind of thing. And then and only then, I will say the Harder and Steinbeck that Sam got me for Valentine's Day this year, night and day difference. Yeah. It's immediately upgraded my hobby and my painting. The desk light that I have overhead from Luminos or wherever it is, it's expensive. And I looked at it at UK Games Expo and went, we'll see. Again, I got this as a gift and as a birthday present from Spam last year for my 29th. And again, night and day difference. The quality of light on this thing is amazing. It's took me from a little 6-inch light bar to having like over 2 feet of it now, boys and girls. It's insane. And the fact that I can put it all the way up here, well above my workspace, and I'm still getting good illumination.
Yeah. I mean, my contribution to this conversation is regarding compressors. I had a cheap, shitty, I think it cost me like 60 quid compressor from Amazon for about 2 years. And it served me perfectly for base coating and priming and doing a lot of workhorsey tasks for terrain and things. I've now upgraded to a Sparmax compressor, and I don't regret any of the money I've spent on it. It's upped my airbrushing game phenomenally. So again,
actually, that's one thing I want to chip in with before we go further into this.
Yeah.
If you're going to buy yourself a compressor and you can afford to spend a tiny bit more, try and get one with a tank from the off.
True. Having said that, my experience, I would say, is the thing is when you first start using an airbrush, because of the way you use it, the tank is far less relevant because you're just using it for base coating and priming.
It is more sanity, so it's not there fucking the entire time.
I mean,
and then it allows you longer term to do, because again, even though you were using a lot of yours for base coating, etc., you were struggling with blends and stuff because of the PSI bleed off because you didn't have the tank.
The biggest pain in the arse with not having a tank is that you don't go to your target PSI when you press the trigger, because when you shut it off, it spikes all the way up to its cutoff point, which is often about 45 PSI. Yeah, so when you depress the trigger, you get 50 PSI, bang, and then it drops off to your target of like 25. So you just, every time you're backing off the trigger, you get this spike. But to be fair, when you're doing a big prime and you're just doing the airbrush is just constantly flowing and you're literally just moving it backwards and forwards or small circles, it doesn't matter because you're not shutting it off that often. Like I say,
as I say, it just feeds in more when you're trying to do blends and bits and pieces.
The message, I think, the message I wanted to get across is, don't be afraid to buy basic bitch cheap stuff early on. You will, because you need to develop so many physical skills like brush control and coordination and You need to develop so much experience when you upgrade into the really good shit, and it is worth it. Ultimately, expensive airbrushes are not a waste of money. Expensive compressors are not generally a waste of money. As long as you're paying for features and not just branding, it's worth upgrading your kit. But don't do it too soon, because there's so much skills you've got to refine before you get the value out of it. Do you agree to some degree, mate?
Yeah, and this is one thing I just want to touch on. It is kind of hobby related, but it also kind of isn't at the same time. I historically bought a Photon when they first came out.
Oh, yeah, because this was another thing that was a dramatic improvement for you, wasn't it?
And I held my powder for a number of years.
Do you want to explain a Photon is a 3D printer? Because we haven't really been talking
Photon's the
about
original 3D printer. It has RGB screen for light filtering, for doing the layering and the exposure. Now, the problem with RGB lighting for exposure control is RGB screens are not good at letting UV light through them. It's kind of not what they were intended and designed for. So there's a lot of wasted energy that goes into trying to do cures and exposures on an original Photon. So I'm using exactly the same resin between my old printer and my new printer. My old printer was 12 or 15 second layers in the normal configuration. The new Saturn I've got, because it's more powerful, because it's got an RGB, not an RGB screen, it's got a mono LCD screen and the light goes through it better. 3 second layers. So I'm getting 4 layers in the same time it used to take me to print of life improvements with this. Bigger bed means that I don't have to run and flip and flop backwards and forwards so often. I can just run off a big batch, as evidence with what Paul's received this week. The tilt release mechanism, it sounds stupid, but I've printed models that were failing on my Photon without touching the supports, and I've got an improved quality of life and got the prints out without any fucking around, because of the tilt release function in the bed, where the bed just tilts down to release the pressure as the bed moves up. It's the little quality of life things that you don't necessarily consider until you get it in hand. Similarly, the airbrush that I got from the missus, it was like, oh, it's just an airbrush. How much better can it be? Boys and girls, it's so much better. I was having issues with my Vallejo primer bubbling up, etc. I'm doing nothing different. Thinning it the same, running it at a slightly lower PSI, but the quality, no bubbling, no issues with the Vallejo Prime, everything else. It's the little things, and like we've already touched on with Paul and Paul's compressor. It's just the little stuff, isn't it, mate?
I found the same thing when I updated to my Badger Patriot from my cheap £20 Chinese airbrush years ago when I was still in Scotland. For me, it's like David said, it's night and day. You think, oh, well, this one's gone kaput. It's been a pain in the arse. I'll get myself something decent. And then you think, shit, this is so much easier. So much easier. And then, because again, I didn't change my compressor, because my compressor didn't die. It was fine. It was basic, but it was fine. Then when I did upgrade that component as well, so I'd got the double whammy, I'm like, oh my god, this is so much easier.
And this is how it's meant to be.
Yeah, but, I mean, Shakos says, agreed, learn and make mistakes with the cheaper stuff, then progress and buy the more complicated stuff that you'll get the value out of. It's all about a journey. Just to shout out before we wrap up, Shakos says he's at ChillCon next weekend. That's the 22nd, is it? The Saturday, James? Do you want to just check, clarify in the chat? And I'm assuming, is that up at Sheffield this year? And so obviously, commiserations, Ewok. Fingers crossed for you, mate. I hope you, your treatment goes okay and you're soon better, mate. Yeah, Saturday the 22nd in Sheffield. So if anybody who's watching this later on YouTube's or watching it now is free, you can go to the ChillCon event over in Sheffield. To be fair, I have got a stupid works training event this weekend, but David and I normally we'll probably be gaming next weekend because you've got your son this weekend, ain't you, mate?
Yes, I have, mate.
Yeah. So I don't know. We might be there, Shakos. We'll see. We'll wait and see. Right. Shall we call it?
I think it's time. I hope what we've said and ranted on about for the past 40 minutes has been of help to some people or has made you see the hobby and the tools that you use to get this shit done in a slightly different light. Occasionally, a little bit of outside perspective can make the world of difference.
Yeah. Also, to be fair, this is an area where there is not a small amount of support stuff out there online. So we've obviously covered the topic. 1,000 other people in the hobby have covered the topic about different quality tools. You can find some great comparisons, side-by-side reviews of different brands and that sort of thing.
Paint reviews, everything.
Just soak it all up. But as I say, I do stand by particularly that slide for the beginners. The problem with YouTubers again is that there are some topics that are just boring to talk about, like what does your hobby space looks like? How easy is it for you to get the work done? How are you lighting your hobby space? Those can be quite dull topics, whereas compared to look at all these new tools and bits and bobs, but they're so important to actually enjoy what we do. Thank you very much for your time. We hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you very much to all of the co-stars over here in the chat. We appreciate every single one of you, and your input is what makes the show what it is. If you can do only one thing for us, then please click the like button. It helps to feed the YouTube algorithm and give us a little bit of a push. If you want to do the other stuff, share, comment, subscribe, then please do that. Do whatever helps you to enjoy YouTube the way that you want to use YouTube. And I think we will see you all the next of the week.
Ciao.
It's another Thursday night. I see Crispin's wearing tights. Sparrow's getting in the bath. Young David's full of wrath. Paul is tightening his straps. Where on his apron you saps. Technical difficulties. They're really such a crime. Technical difficulties. They happen all the time. It's Yellowbelly Tabletop 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 time. Cheese meat is on day release. Damn silk tries not to crease. Ewoks keeping nice and warm. In bed with Russian uniform. Meanwhile the handyman is opening up a can. Technical difficulties. They're really such a crime. sub tries not to crease. The Ewoks keeping nice and warm in bed with Russian uniform. Meanwhile, the handyman is opening another can. It's Yellow Belly Tabletop time. 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 Chasing news on day release. Damn me up tries not to crease. And Ewoks keeping nice and warm in bed with Russian uniform. Meanwhile, the handyman is opening another can.